So in today's market, it goes without saying that construction companies need to be expert builders, but it's sometimes often overlooked that they need to be expert administrators. So today I'll be presenting. My name is Scott Cuthbert. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Digital Time Capture. And Nick Mazzara, the VP of Operations, was supposed to be joining me, but he's unable to attend. Just a quick background, I started my career with PCL Construction Management. I moved from there to KPMG Consulting, where I implemented ERP systems for engineering and construction companies. And I'm one of the co-founders of Digital Time Capture. Nick's background is with Altair Contracting. He's a construction engineering technologist. He went from Altair to Constructive Strategies, where he was a cost management consultant, and he's been with Digital Time Capture since the beginning. I also wanted just to thank Michelle Klopsta, our communications and marketing specialist, for organizing the webinar today. She did a great job of, I think, keeping in touch with everybody and certainly keeping us internally on track. The webinar today will be made available on our website probably tomorrow or the following day. We'll send you an update when it's there, and we'll also be sharing. Given time constraints today, we won't be covering everything in a great amount of detail, but we will be sharing some of our best practices checklists with you through our website, and I'll refer to them during the PowerPoint presentation. But we have a project review checklist, a project readiness assessment, project kickoff agenda, and checklist that we will be happy to share with everybody. So in today's information day and age, there's volumes upon volumes of best practice, and everyone seems to have their own particular flavor. I know for contractors, they're dealing with multiple owners at any given time, and they're trying to understand and keep up with the best practices that the owners would like to implement. Today, our focus is going to be around a few key learnings that we've accumulated over the years when it comes to project alignment and integration and scope management, and of course from the contract management perspective. Francis T. Hartman, the author of Don't Park Your Brain Outside, says that success of a project is directly linked to meeting stakeholders' expectations, and failure is linked to communication breakdown. Good constructors fail because of their inability to communicate. It's easy to be aligned, but much more difficult to be integrated. What we find is, the construction company's been awarded the work, the owner's eager to get going, everybody's on the same page as far as what needs to be accomplished, but they forget that the contract defines the details of how the relationship between the owner and the contractor will work. Therefore, the contract is the key to the project integration. And you have to ask yourself, are your people and your systems organized and able to integrate? This will be a bit of a repetitive theme for me, having started my career on the administrative side of construction, but we really encourage owners and contractors alike to bring admin people into the process as early as possible. Typically, owners and constructors will have internal project execution meetings once the project has been awarded, where they'll discuss things like scope, estimate, schedule, budget, the cost control setup, and coding structures. It's very important from our perspective to understand the internal stakeholders' expectations as well as the customer's expectations. And your project admin people need to be involved in this particular process so that they can understand the contract and the assumptions from the company's perspective first before they begin to interface with the owner. Again, just some stats from the Construction Industry Institute was that when a construction company and owner take the time to make sure that they have alignment and integration, there's typically a 20% decrease in cost and a 30% improvement to schedule. They also find that there's a 4% improvement to the change management process and a 2% improvement to the overall pre-assembly that's required. The next step is typically the kickoff meeting between the contractors and the owner. And sending only the project management or the project management team won't set you up for success. Again, this is the same theme as the internal meetings. We really encourage the project admin, contract admin people to be part of the kickoff meeting. Seldom, if ever, are all aspects of the project accounted for day one in the contract. So it's important to set the tone for open communication and establish your key contacts for operations, contract admin, and finance. Again, projects awarded, contractors are excited that they've been awarded the work, owners are eager to get going. But our first recommendation is you insist that there's a kickoff meeting between yourself and the owner, and ensure that the project admin are in attendance as well as the operations folks. Definitely I can speak from my personal experience as a project accountant. I was typically invited to site after things started to go a little bit sideways. Once they didn't quite know how to report costs or invoice costs in accordance with the contract is when I would get involved. And it's really unnecessary. It could have been avoided and minimized if I had been involved up front rather than after the fact. It's a pretty common business axiom, but fundamentally business is based on relationships. And the better, the more clear, the more open the relationship is, the easier it is to transact with each other. And it's important when you put your project admin and contract admin staff on a project that they understand who they need to speak to on the other side of the table in order to get clarification and answers to important and difficult questions. The building blocks for successful communication when it comes to large-scale construction projects definitely is the work breakdown structure. It's where we're going to have the project description, the overall scope, all the different work elements by area, by discipline, description of activities, the key metrics for measuring progress, and also driving out the final reporting format that everyone is going to be accountable to. So the project plan, we always refer to it as when it's first set as the baseline, and we need to remember that it's the baseline for the relationship and the interaction between owners and contractors, and the baseline for measuring progress and performance. And from a contractor perspective, you have to understand that the owner isn't going to take time to learn and know your internal coding structure. They typically have dozens of different contractors on site dealing with hundreds of issues on a day-to-day basis. So it's really your job to make sure that you understand their reporting structure and their information requirements. And it won't matter if you're performing the work according to the plan if you can't clearly substantiate the actual performance against that plan. Again, speak your customer's language, and you'll see that you can rise above the competition when you are speaking the same language and exchanging information in the same format. You'll find that owners truly appreciate that and will certainly give you more time, more credit, and more patience when it comes to resolving difficult issues. We were in a situation where the owner wanted level 4 detail in order to properly manage progress. We found that most of the contractors were only capable of providing level 2 detail, which in this particular job wasn't significant enough to properly manage progress. But when we got involved and helped drive down that level of detail to the 4th level, then everybody's happy and everybody wins, because now the data is much more meaningful and useful to the project team. I thought this was quite curious. The similar study from the Construction Institute, they did a survey during construction and asked, why do scheduling specifications typically get ignored out on the job site? And the resounding answer was mistrust and reliability of the tool was in question. Yet, when 175 mega projects were surveyed after the project was over, the number one do-over that everyone came up with was develop and regularly use a tracking and appraisal system. So again, you've probably heard it before, but if you're not able to provide accurate, timely information, or sorry, if you are able to provide accurate and timely information, analysis can be performed in a timely manner and corrective actions can be taken. If the information isn't meaningful, it will be ignored, and you'll look back and certainly wish that you'd done a better job during the project. Definitely when you're out on site working with each other, you need to be aligned. You need to work together towards the same objectives. And if you understand the commercial terms and the intent of the contract, then you know who you're talking to or who you need to talk to regarding specific questions, then you can begin to be integrated. You are in a very good position to effectively resolve issues and challenges as they inevitably will arise. And what we kind of stepped back and took a look at is, why do some relationships work and others don't? And it's a fairly broad, sweeping statement, but our observation has been that if you're known as the contractor who, for the most part, proactively works with the owner to resolve issues, you'll typically get the assistance that you need. You'll get a little bit of slack and definitely some patience and understanding. If you build a reputation as the contractor who throws unorganized information over the fence, you'll find that you definitely won't get the same sort of patience and understanding and assistance that you need. In fact, you probably won't hear back from your customer, but you'll hear from your finance department as to why the invoices haven't been approved and paid. So it's very important to know your role as a contract administrator, contract management, in order to achieve success on a project.